I have, like, what is it called? Attention deficit? Attention, you see? Dog! It's a cheap shot. So I don't measure books by anything but the thickness, right? So we have
War and Peace.
We have Shantaram. Does anyone know the book Shantaram? Yeah. And we have the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy in one volume, it's about like that. And then Great Expectations, and then get down here to, what do we have here? Something like John Cheever's collection of short stories. And then you get down here and you have Loneliness of a Long Distance Runner. You get down there, you have A Little Prince, and then you get way down there and you have the full volume, the Encyclopedia of Italian War Heroes. Another cheap shot. I'm allowed to say that. I'm allowed to say the I word. Anyway, but I'm talking about Shantaram now. It's a thick book. It's 980 pages. It's one incredible book. If you haven't read it, it's about an Australian fellow. It's a true story. An Australian guy who was arrested for, I think, armed robbery, and he escapes from prison in Australia and he runs to India. And this whole book is about him in India getting involved with the people of underworld people and French people and Germans and tourists and so on and so forth. And our next guest read the entire book out loud to his partner, doing all the Indian accents. I was told, I wasn't present for the reading, but I was told about this. Is this true? Is this really true? The whole thing? 980 pages? This is wonderful. Anyway, he loves to speak with different accents, and he's going to come up and read a poem to you now. And not recite or read a poem. It's Russell Trott. Would you come on and do that?
So some of you may know. Is there anyone Scottish in the audience tonight?
Half.
Oh, thank God, because I'm going to be doing a Scottish accent, but I don't know if it's a real Scottish accent or not.
A little bit closer to the wall.
No, a little bit closer. And now I've got to fix the microphone for myself. Thank you. Right. Because tonight, the January 25th, is Burns Night. So don't need to applaud me, it's not my birthday. No, it's the birthday of Robert Burns. He's basically kind of the Scottish national poet. And he was born 256 years ago today. And he only lived for about 37 years. But he wrote a huge body of poetry. And unfortunately, it's impossible to do in an English accent. It'd be like doing, Basho in an English accent, French accent or something. And it's from this poem is from 1790. So not only is it Old English, it's mixed in with Scots dialect as well. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it before I start, because hopefully that'll help you understand what's going on. So first of all, there's a few locations you need to know about. The story takes place in Scotland, and the main character, Shanter, is riding from the town of Ayr on the evening of, or deep in the night after a market, and he's riding home past the ruined church of Kirk Alloway. So Kirk is Scottish for church. He has to go across the River Doon, and he's going back home to his wife Kate. And on the way, he comes up against some witches, the main one of which is young and beautiful and is referred to as Nanny. So when you hear that, that's the name of the witch. There's another couple of words you might need to know. One that comes up frequently is sark. So sark and cutty sark, which is, funnily enough, where the name of the whiskey comes from. A sark is a kind of woman's undershirt, and a cutty sark meaning it's a bit too short. And the last one is bairn, which means a child. Right? So hopefully that's going to help you give some idea of what's going on. And I hope I don't forget myself on the way through. The idea of Burns Night is that you recite the poem, you're not allowed to read it. So here we go. When Chapman Billies leave the street, and drouthy neighbours greet, as market days are wearing late, and folks begin to tack the gate, as we sit bowsing at the nappy, and getting full and unco happy. We think nae on the long Scots miles, the mosses, waters, slaps and stiles that lie between us and our haven, where sits our sulky, sullen dame, gathering her brows like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm. This truth found honest Tam o' Shanter, as he frae air a night did canter. All there, him ne'er at town surpasses, for honest men and bonny lasses. Ah, Tam, hadst thou but been sae wise as ta'en thy ain wife Kate's advice, she told thee weel thou was a skellum, a blithering, blustering, drunken blillum, that frae November till October, I market day there was nae sober. That ilka melder with the miller, thou sat as long as thou art siller. That every nail was care the shoe on, the smith and thee got roaring flew on. That at the Lord's house, e'en on Sunday, that drank with Kurt and Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon, that would be found deep drowned in Doon, or catched with warlocks in the mirk, by Alloway's old haunted kirk. Ah, gentle dames, it gars me greet, to think how many counsels sweet, how many lengthened sage advises, the husband frae the wife despises. But to our tale, I market night Tam had got planted unco right, fast by an ingle bleezing finely, wi' reaming swots, that drank divinely, and at his elbow, Souter Johnny, his ancient trusty drouthy crony. Tam loved him like a very brother, they had been food for weeks together. The night drave on with sands and clatter, and aye, the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours secret, sweet and precious. The Souter told his queerest stories, the landlord's laugh was ready chorus. Outside, the storm might rear and rustle, Tam didn't mind the storm a whistle. Care, made to see a man sae happy, he drowned himself among the nappy. As bees flee hame with lades of treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, o'er all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You seize the flower, its bloom is shed. Or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever. Or like the borealis race that flitter, you can point their place. Or like the rainbow's lovely foam, evanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches, Tam maun ride. That hour of night's black arch, the keystane, that dreary hour he mounts his beast in, and sick a night he tacks the road in as ne'er poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blown its last, the rattling showers rose on the blast. The speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep and long the thunder bellowed. That night a child might understand, the devil had business on his hand. Well mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelped on through drub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst holding fast his good blue bonnet, whilst crooning o'er some old Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent cares lest boggles catch him unawares. Kirk Alloway was drawing nigh, where ghasts and hoolits nightly cry. By this time he was crossed the ford, where in the snow the chapmen snore, and past the birks, the mickle stain, where drunken Charlie bracks neck bay, and through the winds and by the cairn, where hunters found the murdered bairn, and near the thorn, aboon the well, where Mungo's nidder hanged it. Before him Doon pours all his floods, the doubling storm roars through the woods, the lightnings flash from pole to pole, near and more near the thunders roll, when, glimmering through the groaning trees, Kirk Alloway seemed in a bleeds. Through ilka bore the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou canst make us scorn. With tippenny, we fear nae evil. We just go there. Yeah, we'll face the devil. The swat saireened in Tammy's noddle, fair play, he cared nae deils a bottle. But Maggie stood right sair astonished, till by the heel and hand admonished, she ventured forward on the light. And wow, Tam saw an unco sight. Warlocks and witches in a dance, nae cotillion, bred new frae France. But hornpipes, jigs, strathspeys and reels put life and metal in their heels. A winnock bunker in the east, there sat old Nick, in shape of beast. A towsy tyke, black, grim and large, to give him music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and gat them skirl, till roof and rafters all did dirl. Coffins stood round, like open presses, that showed the dead in their last dresses, and by some devilish cantrip slight, each in its cold hand held a light, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the holy table a murderer's bones in gibbet irons, twa span lang wee unchristened bairns. A thief new cutted from frae a rape, for with his last gasp his god did gape. 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted. A garter that a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, whom his ain son a life bereft, the grey hairs yet stuck to the heft, with mair a horrible and awful, which e'en to name would be unlawful. 3 lawyers' tongues, turned inside out, with lies seamed like a beggar's clout. 3 priest hands, rotted, black as muck, lay stinking vile in every nook. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The dancers, the piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they cleek it, till ilka Carlin swat and reek it, and coosed their duddies to the whack, and link it at it in her sark. Now Tam, had they been queans, all plump and strapping in their teens, their sarks instead of creasy flannin been snow white 1700 linen. These breeks of mine, my only pair, but once her plush a good blue hair, I would have given them off my herdies for I glimpse of the bonny birdies. But withered bedlams old and drawn, rigwoody hags would speen a fall, looping and flinging on a crummock. I wonder it didn't turn the stomach. But Tam kenned what was what fu brawly. There was I winsome wench and wally that night enlisted in the corps, long after kenned on Carrick shore. For many a beast the dead she shot, and perished many a bonny boat, and shook both mickle corn and bear, and kept the countryside in fear. Her cutty sark a paisley hand, that while a lassie she had worn, in longitude though sorely scanty, it was her best and she was vaunty. Ah, little ken thy reverend granny, the sark she coughed for her wee nanny, with 2 pund Scots, 'twas all her riches, would ever grace a dance of witches. But here my muse her wing encore, sick flights afar beyond her power, to sing how nanny lap and flang, a supple jad she was and strang, and how Tam stood as ane bewitched, and felt his very even enriched. E'en Satan glowered and figged fu fain, and hotched and blew in might and main, till first I caper sin and inner, Tam tint his reason altogether, and roars out, "We'll doon, cutty sark!" And in an instant all was dark, and scarcely had he Maggie rallied, than out the hellish legion sallied. As bees biz out the angry fyke, when plundering herds assail their bike. As open pussies mortal foes, when pop she starts before their nose. As eager runs the market crowd, when "Catch the thief!" resounds aloud. So Maggie runs, the witches follow, with many an eldritch screech and hollow. Ah, Tam, they'll get thy faring, in hell they'll roast thee like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, Kate soon shall be a woeful woman. Now do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and win the keystane of the brig. There at them thou thy tail may toss, a running stream they dare not cross. But ere the keystane she could make, the fainter tail she had to shake. For Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed. She flew at Tam with furious ettle, that little wist she Maggie's mettle. Aye spring broke off her master hail, but left behind her ain grey tail. The carlin caught her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, Pa, this tale of truth may read. Ilk man and mother's son take heed. Whene'er to drink you are inclined, but cutty sacks run in your mind. Think, you may buy the joys all dear. Remember Tam O'Shanter's mare.